The warning siren started just as Kang De-ho finished unloading the last crate. He stood up straight and looked at the sky. Dark clouds rolled across the horizon like a wave of black water. The ion storm was coming faster than anyone had predicted. All around him, the mining outpost came alive with panic. Workers ran in every direction. Doors slammed shut. Metal shutters crashed down over windows. Everyone knew what an ion storm could do to a person caught outside. The electrical charges alone could stop a heart. The winds could tear skin from bone. De-ho ran to his ship. His boots pounded against the metal landing pad as the first gusts of wind hit his back. He reached the cargo hold and slapped the control panel. Nothing happened. He tried again. The screen flickered once and went dark. "No," he said. "No, no, no." He climbed into the cockpit and tried the main systems. Everything was dead. The ship had chosen the worst possible moment to fail. He had no time to figure out why. He needed shelter, and he needed it now. De-ho jumped out of the ship and looked around. The outpost was small, just a collection of metal buildings on a barren moon called Hollow Ridge. Most of the structures were already sealed. He ran to the nearest building and banged on the door. No answer. He tried the next one. A voice shouted from inside that they were full. The wind grew stronger. Dust and small rocks flew through the air, stinging his face and hands. He pulled his jacket over his head and pushed forward. His large body made him a target for the wind. It pushed against him like a giant hand trying to knock him down. He was running out of time. Through the dust, he saw a light. A small building sat at the edge of the outpost. The sign above the door read, "Vela's Supply Station," in 3 different languages. The light inside was still on. Someone was still there. De-ho fought his way toward it. The wind screamed in his ears. His lungs burned from the dust. He reached the door and knocked hard. Too hard. The whole door shook in its frame. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a face appeared in the small window. Large dark eyes looked up at him with obvious fear. The face belonged to a Marathi, one of the small, delicate aliens who lived in this sector. Her skin was silver blue, and she barely reached his chest in height. De-ho knew what he looked like to her. He was big, even for a human. His shoulders were wide. His arms were thick with muscle from years of hauling cargo. Humans already had a reputation for violence among many alien species. A human his size probably looked like a nightmare to someone so small. He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "Please!" he shouted over the wind. "I need shelter! My ship is dead!" The Marathi woman stared at him. He could see her thinking, weighing the danger. Every second felt like an hour. Behind him, the storm grew worse. A piece of metal flew past his head and crashed into a wall nearby. Then the door opened. "Come inside," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "It will be cozy." De-ho squeezed through the doorway. It was not built for someone his size. His shoulders scraped against both sides of the frame. He had to duck his head to avoid hitting it on the top. But he made it through, and the Marathi woman quickly shut the door behind him. The sudden quiet was shocking. The walls blocked most of the wind's roar. De-ho stood in the middle of a small shop filled with shelves. Tools, food packages, and machine parts surrounded him. Everything was organized neatly, but the space was tight. He felt like a giant who had wandered into a dollhouse. "Thank you," he said. He tried to make his voice gentle. "I thought I was going to die out there." The woman looked up at him. She had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "I am Vela," she said. "This is my shop." "Kang De-ho," he said. He gave a small bow, a habit from his homeland on Earth. "I am in your debt." Vela nodded slowly. She was still watching him with careful eyes, the way a small animal watches a predator. De-ho could not blame her. He tried to take a step back to give her space, but his elbow knocked a container off a shelf. It clattered to the floor, and he winced. "Sorry," he said quickly. He bent down to pick it up and nearly knocked over another shelf with his shoulder. "I am sorry. I will be more careful." Vela said nothing. She just watched him fumble with the container, his big hands struggling to place it back on the shelf without causing more damage. The wind outside howled louder. The walls shook slightly. They both looked up at the ceiling, then at each other. "How long will the storm last?" Daiho asked. Vela's expression was hard to read. 3 days, she said. Maybe 4. Daiho felt his stomach drop. 3 days. He was going to be trapped in this tiny shop with this frightened alien woman for 3 days. He looked around at the cramped space, then down at his own massive body. "I will stay out of your way," he said. "I will make myself small as I can." Vela almost smiled at that. Almost. "I have a back room," she said. "It is not big, but you can rest there. I will bring blankets." She turned and walked toward a door at the back of the shop. Daiho followed her, being very careful not to touch anything. The back room was even smaller than the shop. It had a narrow bed, a tiny table, and barely enough floor space for him to stand. Vela looked at him, then at the room, then back at him. The size difference was almost funny. "Like I said," she said quietly. "Cozy." Outside, the storm hit the outpost with its full strength. The building groaned and shook. But inside, it was warm and dry. Daiho looked at the small Marathi woman who had opened her door to a stranger. A human stranger who could crush her with one hand. "Thank you," he said again. "I know you did not have to do this." Vela met his eyes. Some of the fear had left her face, replaced by something like curiosity. "No," she said. "I did not have to. But you needed help." She left to get the blankets. Daiho stood alone in the small room and listened to the storm rage outside. He had come to this moon to deliver cargo. Now he was trapped here with an alien who had every reason to fear him. He would have to show her that she had made the right choice. Daiho sat on the floor because the bed was too small for him. His back rested against the wall, and his long legs stretched out in front of him. Even sitting, he took up most of the room. Vela stood in the doorway, holding a stack of blankets that looked like they were made for a child. "These are all I have," she said. She sounded almost apologetic. "They are perfect," Daiho said. He took them carefully, trying not to let his fingers brush against hers. He did not want to scare her any more than he already had. Vela lingered in the doorway. She seemed unsure whether to stay or go. The storm continued to shake the walls, and the sound filled every silence between them. "Are you hungry?" she finally asked. Daiho was very hungry. He had not eaten since morning, and unloading cargo was hard work. But he shook his head. "I do not want to take your food. The storm will last 3 days. You need to keep what you have." Vela studied him for a moment. "I have enough," she said. "Wait here." She disappeared into the shop. Daiho heard her opening containers and moving things around. A few minutes later, she returned with a small plate. On it was a portion of food that might have satisfied a human child. Daiho took the plate and smiled. "Thank you. This looks wonderful." He ate slowly, making every bite last. The food was some kind of grain mixed with vegetables. It was bland to his tongue, but he did not complain. When he finished, his stomach was still mostly empty, but he handed the plate back with a grateful nod. Vela frowned. "That was not enough." "It was plenty." "You are lying." She said it simply, without anger. "I can see you are still hungry. Why did you not say so?" Daiho shrugged. "I did not want to be a burden. You already gave me shelter. I cannot also eat all your food." Vela looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned and went back to the shop. When she returned, she carried a much larger portion. "I have extra," she said. "I always keep more than I need. Please eat." Dae-ho hesitated, but his stomach made the decision for him. He took the plate and ate. This time, he did not pretend to be satisfied with small bites. Vela watched him, and something in her expression changed. She seemed less afraid now, more curious. "Can I ask you something?" she said. Dae-ho nodded, his mouth full. "Why are you here? On Hollow Ridge?" He swallowed. "I am a cargo hauler. I bring supplies to outposts like this one. It is simple work, but I like it. Lots of time alone in space. Quiet." "You like being alone?" Dae-ho thought about the question. "I like not being watched," he said. "When people see me, they see my size first. They expect certain things from someone who looks like me." "What things?" "That I am aggressive, that I want to fight, that I am dangerous." He set down his plate. "I am tired of those expectations." Vela sat down on the small bed across from him. The distance between them was only a few feet, but she seemed more comfortable now. "The Marathi have avoided humans for a long time," she said. "We were told that your species is violent, that you cannot control your anger." "Some humans are like that," Dae-ho admitted, "but not all. We are not all the same, just like I am sure the Marathi are not all the same." Vela nodded slowly. "That is true. My family thinks I am strange because I came to this moon alone. Most Marathi do not like to be away from their communities. But I wanted to prove I could take care of myself. And can you?" She smiled, just a little. "Most days, yes. Today, I am glad I am not alone." The building shook as a strong gust of wind hit it. Something crashed outside and they both looked up. The storm was getting worse. "Tell me about your family," Vela said. "Where are they?" Dae-ho leaned his head back against the wall. "My parents are on Earth. My grandmother raised me mostly. She lived in a small village in the mountains. Very peaceful. She taught me to be gentle, even though I grew up big." She sounds wise. She was. She died a few years ago. Dae-ho paused. "She always said that being strong is easy. Being kind is harder. She told me that real strength is choosing kindness when you could choose force." Vela was quiet for a moment. "I like that," she said. "The Marathi have a similar idea. We say that the softest hand can hold the heaviest weight." Dae-ho smiled. "Your grandmother and mine would have been friends." Vela laughed. It was a light sound, like bells. Dae-ho realized it was the first time he had heard her laugh. He liked it. "Are you not cold?" she asked suddenly. "The temperature will drop tonight. The power system does not heat the back rooms well." Dae-ho shook his head. "Humans run hot. We are like furnaces. I will be fine." "Then perhaps I should stay back here," Vela said. "For the warmth." She said it so simply that Dae-ho was not sure if she was joking, but when he looked at her, she was serious. The Marathi were a warm-weather species. The cold bothered them more than it bothered humans. "You are welcome to stay," he said, "but I do not want you to feel unsafe." Vela considered this. "I think," she said slowly, "that I feel safer with you than I did an hour ago." "Is that strange?" "No," Dae-ho said. "I think that is how trust begins. Slowly." Vela pulled one of the blankets around her shoulders. She stayed on the bed, and Dae-ho stayed on the floor, but the room felt less divided now. They were two people trapped in a storm together. Not a human and a Marathi, not a giant and a small creature. Just two people. "Tell me more about Earth," Vela said. "I have never been there." So Dae-ho talked. He told her about mountains and oceans, about cities and villages, about snow and rain and seasons that changed. Vela listened with wide eyes, asking questions about things she had never seen. Hours passed, and the storm raged on, but inside the small room, there was only the sound of his voice and her curiosity. Then the lights flickered. They both looked up at the ceiling. The lights flickered again. then went out completely. The room plunged into darkness, lit only by the faint glow of emergency strips along the floor. "That is not good," Vela said quietly. Before Dae-ho could respond, something crashed against the outer wall of the building. The whole structure shook. A cracking sound filled the air, loud and sharp, like breaking bones. Vela jumped to her feet. "The wall," she said. Her voice was suddenly full of fear. "Something hit the wall." They both ran out of the back room and into the shop. Even in the dim emergency lighting, Dae-ho could see the damage. A metal beam had smashed through the outer wall, leaving a hole the size of his chest. Cold air rushed in, and with it came dust and the howling of the storm. Vela stared at the hole. Her hands trembled. "If that gets bigger, I will lose everything," she said. "The shop, my home, everything." Dae-ho looked at the hole, then at the shelves of supplies around him, then back at Vela. The fear in her eyes was clear. This shop was her whole life. "We can fix it," he said. She looked up at him. "How?" He did not have a complete answer yet. But he had his strength, and he had his will, and he was not going to let this storm destroy her home. "Show me where your tools are," he said, "and your heaviest materials. We do not have much time." The wind screamed through the hole in the wall. Dust and debris flew everywhere, covering the shelves and floor. The emergency lights flickered as the power struggled to stay on. Dae-ho could feel the cold cutting through his clothes like a knife. Vela ran to a storage cabinet and pulled out a box of emergency patches. Her hands were shaking as she tried to open it. "These should seal small holes," she said, "but I do not know if they will work on something this big." Dae-ho looked at the damage. The beam had cracked the wall in several places. The main hole was bad, but the cracks were worse. They spread out from the impact point like a spider web. If the cracks got bigger, the whole wall could collapse. "Give me those," he said, taking the patches from Vela. He tried to apply one to the main hole, but the wind kept pushing it off. He pressed harder, using his full strength. The patch stuck for a moment, then ripped away and disappeared into the storm. "It is not enough," Vela said. Her voice was high with panic. "The pressure is too strong. We need something solid to brace the wall." Dae-ho looked around the shop. His military training kicked in. He had been in emergency situations before, and he knew how to think clearly when everything was falling apart. "What is the heaviest thing you have?" "The shipping containers in the back, but they are too heavy for me to move." "Show me." They went to the back of the shop, where Vela stored her incoming supplies. Several large metal containers sat stacked against the wall. Dae-ho grabbed the first one and lifted it. It was heavy, but he could manage. He carried it to the damaged wall and set it against the cracks. "More," he said. "We need to block the whole damaged area." They worked together, Dae-ho carrying the containers and Vela guiding him to the right positions. The wind fought them every step. Each time they placed a container, the pressure pushed against it, but the metal held. Slowly, they built a barrier against the storm. The main hole was still a problem. The containers blocked the cracks, but the beam still stuck through the wall, and the gap around it let in wind and cold. They needed to seal it properly, but the patches would not hold against the pressure. "I have an idea," Dae-ho said, "but you will need to climb." Vela looked at him. "Climb what?" "Me." He explained his plan. If she could get above the hole, she could apply the patches from a better angle. The wind was pushing outward at ground level, but higher up, the pressure might be less. He would hold himself against the wall, bracing the containers and giving her something stable to stand on. Vela looked unsure. "You want me to stand on your shoulders?" "I will not let you fall," Dae-ho said. "I promise." She hesitated for only a moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, let us try." Dae-ho moved to the wall and pressed his back against the containers. He spread his arms out and pushed, holding the barrier in place with his body. The pressure was incredible. He felt it in his bones, in his muscles, in his teeth. But he held. "Come on," he said through gritted teeth. "Quickly." Vela climbed up his body like he was a ladder. She was light, much lighter than he expected. Her small feet found holds on his belt, his shoulders, his arms. Within seconds, she was standing on his shoulders, her hands reaching for the hole above. "I can reach it," she called down. "Give me the patches." Deho could not move his arms without losing his hold on the wall. "In my jacket pocket," he said. "Left side." He felt her lean down and fish through his pocket. She pulled out the patches and went back to work. The wind tried to grab them from her hands, but she held tight. One by one, she applied them to the edges of the hole. The angle was better up there, just like he had hoped. The patches stuck, but they were not enough. There was still a gap, still air rushing through. Vela looked down at him with worried eyes. "We need to close the hole around the beam," she said, "but the patches will not stick to metal." Deho thought fast. "Can you cut it? The beam?" "I have a plasma cutter, but it is back in the storage cabinet." "Get it, I will hold." Vela climbed down and ran for the tool. Deho stayed pressed against the wall, his muscles screaming. Every second felt like an hour. Sweat poured down his face despite the cold. She came back with the cutter and climbed up again. This time, she sat on his shoulders, her legs hanging down his chest. He felt her weight shift as she leaned forward and activated the tool. Blue light filled the air as she cut through the beam. Sparks rained down on Deho's head and arms. He felt them burn through his clothes, biting into his skin. He did not move. He did not make a sound. He just held the wall and let her work. The beam fell away in 2 pieces. Vela quickly covered the remaining hole with the last of the patches. This time they held. The wind stopped screaming. The cold stopped cutting. The wall was sealed. Vela climbed down and stood in front of Deho. They were both breathing hard, covered in dust and sweat. But the wall was solid. The shop was safe. Then Vela saw his arms. "You are hurt," she said. She grabbed his wrist and turned it over. Burns and cuts covered his skin from the sparks and debris. Blood ran down his fingers. "It is nothing," Deho said. He tried to pull away, but she held on. "It is not nothing. Come with me." She led him to the back room and sat him down on the bed. This time he fit, because he was too tired to care about the size. Vela brought out a medical kit and began cleaning his wounds. Her hands were gentle and precise, the hands of someone who was used to delicate work. "Why did you not tell me the sparks were burning you?" she asked. "You needed to finish. If I had moved, the wall would have broken." "You could have been badly hurt." Deho shrugged. "I heal fast, and your shop is more important than a few burns." Vela stopped what she was doing and looked at him. Her large, dark eyes were filled with something he could not name. Wonder. Maybe. Or confusion. Or both. "I have never met anyone like you," she said softly. "The Marathi were told that humans are selfish, that you only care about yourselves, but you just let yourself get hurt to save my shop, a shop that belongs to a stranger." Deho met her gaze. "You are not a stranger anymore," he said. "You opened your door to me. That makes you a friend." Vela said nothing. She just returned to bandaging his arm. But Deho noticed that her hands were not shaking anymore. And when she finished, she did not leave the room. She sat beside him on the small bed, and they listened to the storm together. "Thank you," she said finally, "for what you did." "Thank you for trusting me," he replied. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Vela spoke again, her voice quiet and curious. "You were in the military once. Were you not?" Deho tensed slightly. "How did you know?" "The way you took control, the way you stayed calm when everything was falling apart. That is not normal for a cargo hauler. He looked down at his bandaged hands. I was a combat medic, he said. I served for 6 years. Why did you leave? Deho was quiet for a long moment. The question brought back memories he usually kept locked away. But Vela had trusted him with her home. Maybe he could trust her with his past. Because I could not stand the killing anymore, he said. I joined to save lives, not take them. But the things I saw, the things I was asked to do, they broke something in me. So I left. Vela listened without judgment. Her eyes were soft with understanding. My commanding officer, Deho continued, Captain Yun Hana, she told me something before I left. She said that walking away from violence is not weakness. It is the hardest kind of strength. I have tried to live by those words ever since. Vela reached out and touched his bandaged hand. Her fingers were cool and gentle. I think your captain was right, she said, and I think you are very strong, Kang Deho, in all the ways that matter. The storm had calmed a little, but it was still too dangerous to go outside. Deho and Vela sat in the back room, wrapped in blankets. The emergency lights gave everything a soft orange glow. It was quiet now, except for the distant howl of wind. Vela had made tea from dried leaves she kept for special occasions. It was warm and slightly sweet. Deho held the small cup carefully in his large hands, afraid he might break it. Tell me more about your time as a medic, Vela said, if you want to. Deho stared into his tea. He did not usually talk about those years, but something about the quiet room and Vela's gentle voice made him want to speak. I joined because I wanted to help people, he began. I thought being a medic would let me do that without hurting anyone. And for a while it did. I saved lives, human lives, alien lives. It did not matter to me. A patient was a patient. That sounds good. It was at first. He took a sip of tea. But then the wars got worse. I was sent to places where the fighting never stopped. I saw things that still wake me up at night. And sometimes I was ordered to make choices I did not agree with. What kind of choices? Deho was quiet. The memory was painful, but it wanted to come out. There was a battle on a moon not so different from this one. We were fighting the Krell, a warrior species. The battle was bad, and we took heavy losses. But so did they. At the end of the day, there were wounded Krell soldiers in the field. Vela listened closely. Her large eyes did not look away. My commander told me to leave them, Deho continued. He said we did not have enough supplies to treat our own people and the enemy too. He said to let them die. What did you do? I disobeyed. Deho set down his tea. I went out at night and treated the Krell wounded. I used supplies from my own kit, supplies I was supposed to save for humans. When my commander found out, he was furious. He said I was a traitor to my species. Vela shook her head. But you saved lives. How could that be wrong? That is what I thought. But after that, everything changed. I was moved to a desk position. No more field work. They said they could not trust me anymore. He looked at his hands, the same hands that had healed so many. A year later, I left. I could not be part of a system that punished me for showing mercy. Vela was silent for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his knee. I am sorry that happened to you, but I am glad you made the choice you did. My captain, Yun Hana, she understood. She told me that the military was not the right place for someone like me. Not because I was weak, but because I was too strong in the wrong way for them. She said I had a healer's heart, and that I should find a place where that heart could do good without being punished. So you became a cargo hauler. Yes, it is simple work. No one expects anything from me except to move boxes from one place to another. No one asks me to fight. No one asks me to choose between following orders and doing what is right. He smiled sadly. It gets lonely sometimes, but it is peaceful. Vela pulled her blanket tighter around her shoulders. I understand loneliness, she said. The Marathi are very social. We live in large family groups, always together, always connected. But I never felt like I fit in. I was too curious about the outside world, too interested in other species. My family thought I was strange. So you came here? Yes. I wanted to prove that I could survive on my own, that I did not need the safety of the group. She laughed quietly. And then a storm comes and my wall breaks, and I cannot even fix it without help from a human. That is not weakness, Deho said gently. No one can do everything alone. Accepting help is not the same as being helpless. Vela looked at him. Something shifted in her expression. She seemed to be seeing him in a new way, like she had just noticed something important. You are very different from what I expected, she said. What did you expect? I do not know. Something scarier. When I saw you through the window, you were so big, so frightening. I almost did not open the door. I am glad you did. So am I. They sat in comfortable silence. The storm continued outside, but inside the small room it felt like they were in their own world, safe, warm, together. Can I ask you something? Vela said. Of course. When this is over, when your ship is fixed, where will you go? Deho had not thought about it. He usually just took the next job, the next delivery, the next long trip through empty space. He did not have a home, not really, just a ship and the stars. I do not know, he admitted. Wherever the work takes me. Vela nodded slowly. She seemed like she wanted to say something more, but she stopped herself. Instead, she changed the subject. I want to teach you a word, she said. A Marathi word. What word? Veloth. She said it carefully, letting him hear each sound. It means something like gentle giant. But it is more than that. It means someone who has great power, but uses it only for protection. Someone who could destroy, but chooses to build instead. Deho repeated the word. Veloth. It felt strange on his tongue, but good. I like it. I think it fits you. He smiled. My grandmother had a saying, too. She used to say that even mountains can be kind. She meant that being big and strong does not mean you have to be hard. You can be solid and soft at the same time. Vela tilted her head, considering this. Even mountains can be kind, she repeated. I like that, too. Perhaps your grandmother and my people are not so different. Perhaps not. The tea was gone, and the hour was late. Vela stood up and stretched. You should sleep, she said. You worked hard today. You need to rest. Deho did not argue. His body was tired, and the burns on his arms were starting to ache. He lay back on the small bed, his feet hanging off the end, and closed his eyes. He felt Vela cover him with another blanket. Good night, Veloth, she said softly. Good night, Vela. He was almost asleep when a sound made him open his eyes. It was the emergency communicator on Vela's belt. It was crackling with static, and then a voice came through, angry, demanding. Vela! Vela, answer me! Are you there? Are you safe? Vela grabbed the communicator and spoke quickly. I am here. I am fine. The storm damaged my wall, but I repaired it. I am safe. We have been trying to reach you for hours. The storm knocked out communications. I was about to come find you myself. The voice paused. Who repaired the wall? You cannot do that kind of work alone. Vela glanced at Deho. He saw the worry in her eyes. I had help, she said carefully. Help? From who? Everyone in the outpost is sealed in. Another pause, longer this time. A human, Vela said finally. A human cargo hauler. His ship broke down, and I gave him shelter. The voice on the other end went cold. A human? Vela, are you insane? You let a human into your home? He is not dangerous, Torin. He helped me. He got hurt protecting my shop. I am coming there right now. The storm is still too strong. You cannot make it. Watch me. The communicator went silent. Vela stood holding it, her face pale. She looked at Dai-Ho with fear in her eyes. That was my brother, she said. He is coming, and he hates humans. The storm began to break just before dawn. The wind still howled, but it was weaker now. The dust was settling. Through the small window in the shop, Dai-Ho could see patches of gray sky between the clouds. He stood in the middle of the room, waiting. Vela had told him that her brother Torin would come as soon as it was safe to travel. Based on the way the storm was calming, that would be very soon. You should sit down, Vela said. She was pacing near the door, nervous energy making her move back and forth. You look too threatening when you stand like that. Dai-Ho looked down at himself. She was right. With his arms at his sides and his feet planted, he looked like he was preparing for a fight. He moved to a corner of the room and sat on a crate, trying to make himself smaller. Is that better? He asked. A little. Vela stopped pacing and looked at him. I want you to understand something about my brother. He is not a bad person. He is just scared. He has reasons to fear humans. What reasons? Vela hesitated. It is not my story to tell. But I promise you his fear comes from pain, not hate. He is trying to protect me. Dai-Ho nodded. He understood protection. He understood fear. I will not make trouble, he said. I will stay calm no matter what he says or does. Thank you. They waited. The minutes felt like hours. Then, finally, they heard voices outside. Footsteps on the metal walkway. Someone banging on the door. Vela opened it. 3 Marathi stood outside, all of them taller than her, but still much smaller than Dai-Ho. The one in front was clearly the leader. He had the same silver-blue skin as Vela, the same large dark eyes. But where her eyes were warm, his were hard and cold. Vela. He stepped inside and grabbed her shoulders, looking her over for injuries. Are you hurt? Did he touch you? I am fine, Torin. I told you. He helped me. Torin released her and turned to face Dai-Ho. The moment he saw the human, his whole body tensed. His hands curled into fists. The 2 Marathi behind him spread out, blocking the door. Dai-Ho did not move. He kept his hands open and visible on his knees. He made sure his expression was calm, his body relaxed. Every instinct told him to stand up, to face this threat head-on, but he knew that would only make things worse. So, Torin said. His voice was like ice. This is the human. My name is Kang Dai-Ho. Thank you for coming to check on your sister. She was very brave during the storm. Torin ignored the words. He walked closer, studying Dai-Ho like he was examining a dangerous animal. You are big, even for a human. Yes. You could kill everyone in this room without breaking a sweat. Dai-Ho kept his voice level. I could. But I would never do that. Torin's eyes narrowed. How do I know that? How do I know you are not just waiting for the right moment? Torin, stop it. Vela stepped between them. He saved my shop. He held the wall while I patched it. He got burned by sparks and cut by debris, and he did not complain once. He is not dangerous. All humans are dangerous. That is not true, and you know it. The 2 Marathi by the door shifted uncomfortably. One of them, a male with lighter skin than the others, was looking at Dai-Ho with curiosity rather than fear. His eyes moved to the medic insignia on Dai-Ho's jacket and stayed there. You are a healer, the light-skinned Marathi said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. Torin frowned. What? His insignia. That is the symbol of a human combat medic. The Marathi stepped closer, pointing at the small badge on Dai-Ho's chest. I have seen it before. 5 years ago, a plague hit my colony. We were dying by the hundreds. No one would help us. They were afraid the plague would spread. But a human medical ship came. The doctors wore that symbol. They saved my family. They saved hundreds of us." Torin stared at his companion. "You never told me this." "I do not talk about that time. It was very dark." The Mirathi looked at Deho with something like respect. "But I remember the humans. They did not have to come. They knew they might get sick too. But they came anyway." Deho dipped his head in acknowledgement. "That is what medics do. We go where we are needed." The room was quiet. Torin's fists were still clenched, but some of the tension had left his shoulders. He looked at Vela, then at his companion, then back at Deho. "I do not trust you," he said finally. "I cannot. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I will not drag you out of here like I planned." Vela let out a breath. "Thank you, Torin. Do not thank me. Just be careful." He pointed at Deho. "The storm will be fully clear by tomorrow morning. I want you gone by midday. There is a freighter leaving the outpost. You can get passage on it." Deho nodded slowly. He had expected this. "I understand. I will leave." "Wait." Vela turned to face him. "You do not have to go. Your ship still needs repairs. You could stay until it is fixed. Your brother does not want me here. I will not cause trouble for you. It is my shop, my home. I decide who stays." Torin grabbed her arm. "Vela, be reasonable. You do not know this human. You do not know what he is capable of." Vela pulled free. Her voice was stronger than Deho had ever heard it. "I know exactly what he is capable of. I watched him hold a wall together with his bare hands while sparks burned his skin. I watched him carry containers that would take 3 Mirathi to lift. I watched him sit calmly while you threatened him, when he could have thrown you across the room with one hand. I know what he is capable of, Torin, and that is exactly why I trust him." The room was silent. Torin looked at his sister like he had never seen her before. She had always been the quiet one, the gentle one, the one who did not argue or fight back. But now she was standing up to him, and she was not backing down. "You really believe this?" Torin asked quietly. "Yes, I do." Torin looked at Deho for a long moment. The hardness in his eyes did not disappear, but it softened just slightly. "The freighter leaves at noon tomorrow. If you are smart, you will be on it." He turned and walked out the door. The other Mirathi followed. The one with the light skin looked back at Deho and gave a small nod before he left. Vela closed the door and leaned against it. She looked exhausted. "I am sorry about that. He had no right to treat you that way." "He had every right," Deho said. "He is your brother. He wants to protect you. I would do the same." Vela shook her head. "His fear is old. It has been with him for a long time. I hope that meeting you might help him see that not all humans are the same. But I think it will take more than one night to change his mind." Deho stood up slowly. His body ached from the repairs, and his heart ached from something else. He had started to feel comfortable here, with Vela, in this small shop on this remote moon. But he knew he could not stay. "I will take the freighter tomorrow," he said. "It is better for everyone." Vela looked at him with sad eyes. "Is it? Is it really better? Or are you just running away again?" The words hit him like a punch. He opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Because she was right. He was running. That was what he always did. When things got hard, when people got close, he ran. "I do not want to cause problems between you and your brother," he said. "You are family." "You are my friend," Vela replied. "Does that not matter too?" Deho did not have an answer. He stood there in the small shop, surrounded by shelves and supplies and the faint smell of dust, and he felt more lost than he had in years. The storm was ending, but inside him, a new storm was just beginning. Morning came slowly to Hollow Ridge. The storm had passed completely, leaving behind a sky of pale orange and a layer of dust on everything. Workers emerged from their shelters and began clearing the streets. The mining outpost was coming back to life. Daeho stood at the landing pad and looked at his ship. A mechanic was shaking his head as he examined the engine. "Bad news," the mechanic said. He was a short creature with 4 arms and scales that shifted color in the light. "Your power converter is completely burned out. I do not have the parts here. They will need to be ordered from the central hub." "How long?" 3 weeks. Maybe 4. Daeho closed his eyes. 3 weeks on this moon, with Torin wanting him gone and Vela caught in the middle. It was an impossible situation. "There is a freighter leaving at noon," he said. "Can I get passage on it?" The mechanic shrugged. "Probably. Captain Morrow takes passengers sometimes. But what about your ship?" "I will send for it later, or sell it. I do not care." The mechanic looked at him strangely, but did not argue. Daeho walked away from the landing pad and toward the center of the outpost. He needed to find Vela. He needed to say goodbye. She was waiting for him at her shop. The door was open, and she stood in the entrance with her arms crossed. She looked like she had not slept. "You already talked to the mechanic?" she said. It was not a question. "Yes. My ship needs parts. 3 weeks. So stay." Daeho shook his head. "Your brother arranged passage for me on the freighter. He wants me gone. If I stay, it will only make things worse between you." Vela's eyes flashed with anger. "Stop making excuses. Torin is not the reason you want to leave, and we both know it." "Then what is the reason?" "You are afraid." She stepped closer to him. "You are afraid of what will happen if you stay. You are afraid of getting close to someone. You spent years running from place to place, never staying long enough to make real connections. And now that you have found one, you want to run again." Daeho felt his chest tighten. Everything she said was true. He had been alone for so long that he had forgotten what it felt like to belong somewhere. The thought of staying, of building something real, terrified him more than any storm. "What do you want from me?" he asked quietly. "I want you to be brave. Not the kind of brave where you hold a wall or carry heavy things. The kind of brave where you face your own fears. The kind of brave where you let someone in." They stood there looking at each other. The morning light made Vela's silver-blue skin glow. She was so small, so delicate. But in that moment she seemed like the strongest person he had ever met. "The freighter leaves in 2 hours, Daeho said. "If I do not go, I will be stuck here until my ship is fixed." "I know." "Your brother will be furious." "I know." "The whole outpost will talk about the human living in the Mirathi's shop." "I know." Vela reached up and touched his arm. Her hand was cool against his skin. "I know all of that. And I do not care. Do you?" Daeho looked down at her hand, such a small hand, but it held him in place more firmly than any chain. "I am scared," he admitted. "So am I. But I would rather be scared with you than safe without you." A noise made them both turn. An old Mirathi woman was walking up the street toward them. She moved slowly, but with purpose. Her skin was darker than Vela's, almost gray, and her eyes held the weight of many years. Behind her came 2 younger Mirathi, and behind them, looking uncomfortable, was Torin. Vela straightened. "Elder Sari." The old woman stopped in front of them and looked up at Daeho. She was even smaller than Vela, barely reaching his stomach, but she showed no fear. Her eyes studied him like she was reading a book. "So this is the human," she said. Her voice was rough but kind. The one who held the wall. Yes, Elder, Vela said. This is Kang Dae-ho. Elder Seri nodded slowly. I have heard much about you, Kang Dae-ho. Some good, some bad. I have decided to see for myself. Dae-ho bowed his head respectfully. I am honored, Elder. Do not be honored yet. You have not done anything. She looked at him sharply. I understand you are planning to leave on the freighter. Yes, Elder. Your people do not want me here, and I do not wish to cause trouble. That is considerate and cowardly. Dae-ho blinked. He had not expected that. Elder Seri continued. Running away because things are hard is not kindness. It is fear dressed up in nice clothes. If you truly do not wish to cause trouble, then stay and prove that you deserve to be trusted. Leaving proves nothing except that you give up easily. Torin stepped forward. Elder, with respect, this human does not belong here. Our people have been hurt by humans before. We cannot just forget that because one of them fixed a wall. No, we cannot forget, Elder Seri agreed, but we also cannot live in the past forever. Fear is a useful tool, Torin. It keeps us safe, but too much fear makes a prison. Is that how you want us to live? Torin said nothing. His jaw was tight, and his hands were clenched at his sides. Elder Seri turned back to Dae-ho. I am inviting you to share a meal with the community elders tonight. It is a tradition. When a stranger proves themselves worthy of notice, we break bread with them. It is a chance for us to learn about you, and for you to learn about us. Dae-ho felt his heart beat faster. This was not what he had expected. I am honored by the invitation, but I must ask why. Why would you invite a human after everything your people have suffered? Elder Seri smiled. It transformed her face, making her look almost young. Because Vela trusts you, and I trust Vela. She has always been different from the others, always looking outward instead of inward. If she believes you are worth knowing, then I want to find out why. She turned and began walking away. The younger Marathi followed her. Torin lingered, staring at Dae-ho with an expression that was impossible to read. Then he too turned and left. Vela let out a long breath. That was unexpected. Yes. Dae-ho watched the elders disappear around a corner. What just happened? Elder Seri is the leader of our community here. If she accepts you, the others will follow. Vela looked up at him with hope in her eyes. This is your chance, Dae-ho, a real chance to show them who you are. Dae-ho thought about the freighter. By now, it was probably preparing to launch. He could still make it if he ran. He could leave this moon behind and go back to his empty ship and his empty life, and he would never have to face another moment like this one. Or he could stay. He could go to this meal and sit with the elders and let them judge him. He could face their questions and their doubts and their memories of human cruelty. He could open himself up to rejection and pain and fear. It was the hardest choice he had ever faced. He looked at Vela. She was waiting for his answer, her eyes wide and hopeful and afraid all at once. Tell Elder Seri I accept her invitation, he said. I will stay. The smile that broke across Vela's face was like sunrise. She grabbed his hand and squeezed it tight. You will not regret this, she said. Dae-ho was not so sure. But as he stood there holding her hand, he realized something. For the first time in years, he did not want to run. Maybe that was enough. Elder Seri's home was the largest building in the Marathi section of the outpost. It was still small by human standards, but Dae-ho had learned to duck his head before entering any door, and he managed to get inside without hitting anything. The room was warm and filled with soft light. Cushions covered the floor around a low table. 5 Marathi elders sat waiting, their eyes following Dae-ho as he entered. Vela came in behind him and guided him to a cushion at the far end of the table, where there was more space for his legs. Elder Seri sat at the head. Torin sat beside her, his expression blank but watchful. The other elders ranged in age from middle-aged to very old. They all looked at Deho with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Welcome to my home, Kang Deho," Elder Sari said. "Please sit. Be comfortable." Deho lowered himself onto the cushion. He was far from comfortable. Every eye in the room was on him, measuring him, judging him. But he kept his face calm and his hands steady. "Thank you for having me," he said. "This is a great honor." Elder Sari nodded. "We have many questions for you. But first, we eat. Food shared is trust begun." The meal was brought out by younger Mirathi. It was simple food, grains and vegetables and some kind of roasted meat that Deho did not recognize. Everything was served in small portions on delicate plates. Deho ate slowly and carefully, using the eating tools the Mirathi used instead of his hands. No one spoke during the meal. Deho was not sure if this was tradition or if they were simply waiting. He ate what was given to him and tried not to think about how hungry he still was. When the plates were cleared, Elder Sari leaned forward. "Now we talk. Tell us about your species, Kang Deho. Tell us about humans." Deho took a breath. He had known this question would come. "Humans are complicated," he said. "We are capable of great kindness and great cruelty. We have built beautiful things and destroyed beautiful things. Some of us spend our lives helping others. Some of us spend our lives hurting others. We are not all the same." "That is a political answer," one of the elders said. He was an older male with deep lines on his face. "Tell us the truth. Are humans dangerous?" "Yes," Deho said honestly. "We can be very dangerous. We are strong and clever and we do not give up easily. When humans decide to fight, we fight until we win or we die." The elders murmured among themselves. Torin's jaw tightened. "But," Deho continued, "those same qualities can be used for protection instead of destruction. Humans who decide to help will help until the job is done or they have nothing left to give. Our stubbornness works both ways." Elder Sari studied him. "And which kind of human are you?" Deho thought about the question. He thought about his years as a medic, saving lives. He thought about the Krell soldiers he had treated against orders. He thought about holding Vela's wall while sparks burned his arms. "I am the kind who protects," he said. "I always have been. I left my people's military because they wanted me to be the other kind and I could not do it. I would rather live alone than become something I hate." The room was quiet. The elders looked at each other, exchanging glances that Deho could not read. Then Elder Sari spoke again. "I would like to learn more about human customs. Will you show us one? Something that means welcome among your people?" Deho thought about it. There were many customs he could show them, handshakes and bows and formal greetings. But those all felt too cold, too distant. He wanted to show them something real. "In my grandmother's village," he said, "when a guest came to your home, you made them food. Not fancy food, but simple food, made with your own hands. It was a way of saying that you were willing to work for them, to care for them, to treat them like family." Elder Sari smiled. "That is a custom I understand. Will you make this food for us?" Deho was surprised. He looked at Vela, who nodded encouragingly. "If you have the ingredients, I can try," he said. "It is a dish my grandmother made. Rice and vegetables and egg all fried together. Very simple, but very good." Elder Sari gestured to one of the younger Mirathi, who hurried away and returned with supplies. A small cooking surface was brought out and set in front of Deho. The ingredients were not exactly what he needed, but they were close enough. He began to cook. His large hands moved carefully over the small cooking surface, chopping and stirring and mixing. The smell filled the room, warm and savory. The elders watched with interest as he worked, When the dish was done, he divided it into small portions and served each elder himself. Then he sat back and waited. Elder Sari took the first bite. Her eyes widened slightly. She chewed slowly, thoughtfully, and then nodded. The other elders followed, tasting the strange human food with careful curiosity. "It is good," Elder Sari said. "Different from our food, but good. I taste the care in it." The other elders murmured agreement. Even Torin took a bite, though his expression did not change. "Now it is our turn," Elder Sari said. She gestured, and more food was brought out. This time, the portions were larger, and the dishes were ones that Day-Ho had never seen before. "This is food from our home world, food we make for family." They shared the meal together, humans and Marathi, eating from the same table. The conversation slowly became easier. The elders asked Day-Ho about Earth, about mountains and oceans and seasons. He asked them about their world, about their traditions and their history and their families. The fear in the room began to fade, replaced by something warmer. Finally, Torin spoke. He had been silent for most of the meal, but now he set down his eating tools and looked directly at Day-Ho. "I owe you an apology," he said. The words seemed to cost him something. "I treated you badly when I came to my sister's shop. I judged you by what other humans had done, not by what you had done. That was wrong." Day-Ho shook his head. "You do not need to apologize. You were protecting your sister. I would have done the same. Still, I was wrong, and I want you to know why I was so afraid." Torin paused. His hands gripped the edge of the table. "When I was young, a human trading ship came to our settlement. We welcomed them. We trusted them. And they betrayed us. They stole from us, hurt our people, and left us with nothing. My father died trying to stop them." The room was silent. Vela reached over and touched her brother's arm. "I have hated humans ever since," Torin continued. "Every time I saw one, I saw those traitors. I saw my father dying. I could not separate the two." He looked at Day-Ho with eyes that were full of pain. "But I know now that was not fair. You are not those traitors. You have done nothing but help my sister and treat our people with respect. I cannot forget my father, but I can try to stop blaming every human for what some humans did." Day-Ho felt a lump in his throat. "Thank you for telling me this. I am sorry for what happened to your father, and I promise you, I will never betray your trust." Torin nodded slowly. It was not friendship, not yet. But it was a beginning. The meal ended late in the evening. Day-Ho helped clean up, moving the dishes and cushions with the same care he used for everything in this small world. The elders said goodbye one by one, each of them touching his hand in a gesture that Vela told him was a sign of respect. 3 weeks passed. Day-Ho's ship was repaired, but he did not leave. He stayed on Hollow Ridge and helped rebuild the damage from the storm. He carried heavy beams and lifted broken walls. He worked alongside Marathi, who had feared him at first, but slowly came to see him as a friend. He helped Vela expand her shop. They knocked out a wall and added a new room, one with a door big enough for a human to walk through without ducking. He spent his evenings there, sharing meals with her, talking about everything and nothing. One evening, as the sun set over the barren moon, Vela asked him the question she had been holding back for weeks. "Will you stay?" Day-Ho looked at her, at the shop they had built together, at the community that had accepted him against all odds, at the life he had found in the last place he had expected. "Only if you will have me," he said. Vela smiled. It was the same smile she had given him on that first night, but brighter now, warmer. "Come inside," she said. "It will be cozy." Day-Ho walked through the new doorway. This time he did not have to squeeze. This time he fit perfectly. He had come to this moon looking for shelter from a storm. He had found something much more valuable. He had found a home, and he was never going to run from it.